Hello, and welcome to History in the Shadow. Before we begin, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel, because here we uncover the lost tales of history, the powers that once ruled the world but now linger only in fragments and whispers. Now, let me hook you with this. Imagine a kingdom that stood between Egypt, the Hittites, and Assyria. A kingdom so strategic that pharaohs married its princesses, so mysterious that its gods included names from the Vedas of India, and so important that it once controlled the key to the entire Near East. Yet, most people have never heard its name. This is not Babylon, not Assyria, not Hittite. This is the kingdom of Mitanni, a power that rose out of nowhere, ruled like a shadow between giants, and disappeared so completely that even historians struggled to find its traces. Today, we bring it back to light. The Mitanni were a people of mystery. They emerged in the 16th century BCE in the region of northern Mesopotamia and Syria, in a land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. They were not purely Semitic like the Assyrians, nor fully Indo-European like the Hittites. They were a blend, but their elite class carried strong Indo-Aryan traditions. This is strange because the Indo-Aryans are usually associated with India, with the Vedic religion, with Sanskrit. Yet here they were, in the heart of the Near East, ruling over a kingdom far from the plains of the Ganges. Their gods bear this out. The Mitanni elite worshipped deities with names like Indra, Mitra, Varuna, and Satya, the same gods praised in the Rigveda of ancient India. How they arrived here is still debated, but it is clear that a warrior aristocracy of Indo-Aryan origin had settled among a largely Hurrian population, and from this mixture the kingdom of Mitanni was born. The rise of Mitanni was rapid. In a region dominated by superpowers, they carved out a space for themselves. To their south lay the kingdom of Egypt, ruled by the powerful pharaohs of the New Kingdom. To their north and west stood the Hittites, a militaristic people who loved war and conquest. To their east were the Assyrians, at that time a rising but still small power. Yet Mitanni managed to balance them all, holding the northern fertile lands and the trade routes that connected Mesopotamia to the Mediterranean. What made Mitanni strong was not just territory, but strategy. Their kings were clever diplomats. They did not seek to destroy their rivals. They sought to balance them. They signed treaties, married daughters to foreign kings, and used alliances to survive. The Egyptians in particular found themselves drawn into this game. Pharaoh Thutmose IV and Amenhotep III both married Mitanni princesses. These were not ordinary marriages. They were diplomatic masterstrokes, symbols of respect, alliances sealed with bloodlines. To this day, in the Amarna letters, clay tablets found in Egypt, we have records of Mitanni kings writing to pharaohs as equals, demanding gold, gifts, and recognition. This was no small kingdom. This was a power that spoke to Egypt as a peer. Yet Mitanni was more than diplomacy. It was a military power. Its warrior elite were masters of the chariot, the most advanced weapon of its age. Chariots were the tanks of the Bronze Age, and the Mitanni trained generations in their use. In fact, in the Hittite archives, we find a treatise on chariot training written by a Mitanni master named Kikili. He described in detail how to train horses for war, how to feed them, how to ride them to endurance. His methods were so advanced that they influenced warfare across the region for centuries. This was Mitanni's edge. Not only did they possess chariots, they possessed the knowledge of how to use them better than anyone else. For a time, Mitanni stood strong. They held off Assyria. They made peace with Egypt. They fought and sometimes cooperated with the Hittites. But the shadows were gathering. Like many powers that rely on balance, one shift was enough to destroy them. The Hittites, under their great king, Suppiluliuma I, decided to break the balance. They launched a massive attack on Mitanni, striking with force and strategy. At the same time, Assyria began to grow stronger, no longer content to be a second-ranked state. The two powers, Assyria and Hittite, pulled at Mitanni from both sides. Internal struggles made it worse. Dynastic rivalries split the kingdom. Some factions sided with the Hittites, others with Assyria. Civil war weakened the state, and the once proud Mitanni became a pawn in the games of greater powers. Eventually, Assyria struck the final blow. By the 13th century BCE, the kingdom of Mitanni had been absorbed into the Assyrian Empire. The name vanished, its lands divided, its people lost in the records of others. But the legacy of Mitanni is stranger still. Their gods, their names, their horse training techniques. These elements show connections across thousands of miles. They are evidence of ancient migrations, of cultures crossing from Central Asia into the Near East, long before written history tells us of such movements. They are proof that the world was connected even in the Bronze Age. Today, most people have never heard of Mitanni. Schoolbooks talk of Egypt, Babylon, Assyria, and the Hittites, but not of this shadow kingdom that once balanced them all. Yet, without Mitanni, the politics of the ancient Near East would have been very different. Without Mitanni, perhaps Egypt would have fallen sooner to the Hittites. Without Mitanni, perhaps Assyria would have risen earlier. But because of Mitanni, the balance held for a time. And that is why we call them a shadow empire. They stood between giants, never the strongest, never the most famous, but always the key. And when they fell, they vanished almost completely, their memory preserved only in broken tablets and half-forgotten names. Yet now you know their story. Now you know that in the Bronze Age, there was a kingdom called Mitanni, whose warriors drove chariots, whose kings spoke with pharaohs, whose gods were sung of in the Vedas, and whose legacy still echoes in the margins of history. This has been the story of Mitanni, and if you found it as fascinating as we did, please subscribe for more. Because here, at History in the Shadow, we bring back the lost powers of the past. Thank you for watching.